Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join our webinar titled Moving to Oracle Cloud, BI Reporting Best Practices. My name is Jeff Engelhardt and I'm a business development rep here at Elire. We're excited to be joined by our friends at Yum Brands to share our experiences with everyone this afternoon for you all. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping items to mention. Your phones will be on mute throughout the call. If you have any questions, please submit them through the portal at any time, and we'll get those addressed at the end of the presentation, just to be respectful of everybody's time. We will also have a few poll questions throughout the presentation today. We'd appreciate if you could complete them as they come up, as it'll just give us a better understanding for everybody that's on the line today. We will be recording this presentation, and we'll get that sent out to all registrants after the webinar. If any questions come up after the call today, feel free to reach out to us after we send out the recording, and we'd be happy to get those answered. We're going to be spending the next 60 minutes today walking through introductions, followed by an interactive discussion with our team and our guests, as I mentioned, to share our best practices, and then wrap everything up with a Q&A session. So we'll get all those questions answered after the presentation. So first, to introduce Elire, we're a full-service consulting firm and recently celebrated our 12th anniversary earlier this year. Our focus is to combine both our system expertise as well as our business process expertise in order to provide strategic guidance to our customers in a few different areas, such as cloud services, strategic ERP services, treasury management services, human capital management, BI or business intelligence, as well as strategic advisory services. We're an Oracle Gold partner, Cloud Standard, and Quest Silver partner. As I mentioned briefly earlier, my name is Jeff Engelhardt, and I'm responsible for the customer relationships in the Northeast Territory, as well as parts of Canada. I'm very fortunate to work closely with a lot of our subject matter experts, including those of them that are with us on the call today. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Aaron and Karen to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Jeff. My name is Aaron Boltice. I'm a senior consultant with Elire. I specialize in BI reporting, core HR, compensation, talent, and profile management modules within the cloud application. My background is actually primarily functional, and that is the approach I take when it comes to reporting solutions.
Karen?
Hi there. I'm Karen Costix. I'm an associate consultant with Elire, and I specialize in BI reporting.
Thank you, Aaron and Karen. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're also joined by our friends at Yum Brands. Yum is a Fortune 500 corporation that operates nearly 44,000 restaurants in over 135 countries. We all know most of their brands very well, including Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Wing Street. Recently, Elire assisted Yum with a successful go-live of Oracle Cloud HCM and expenses. It's great to have them join us today to share their experiences and lessons learned over time. Sue and Mike, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Sure, thanks. I'm Sue Duggins. I'm Senior Manager of ERP projects here at Yum, and I was one of the project managers on our Oracle Cloud implementation. My background is business, so I focused primarily in that area throughout the project. Mike?
I'm Mike Spalding. I work with Sue on the Oracle implementation project, and also worked closely with Aaron and Karen on the reporting requirements and building of the reports.
Thanks, guys. So today we'll discuss Oracle Business Intelligence and the cloud report options available, specifically Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence and Business Intelligence Publisher. Then we'll discuss utilizing industry best practices and solutions for your own cloud implementations. Finally, we'll also talk about lessons learned during our implementation at Yum Brands and review a few custom reports that we created. Now I'll pass it back over to Sue Duggins to talk about background information on the Oracle Cloud implementation at Yum.
Thanks, Aaron. So I thought it might help to kind of give everyone a high-level overview of our project, our journey to the cloud. We started with PeopleSoft 8.4, highly customized version of PeopleSoft. In late 2014, our senior IT leadership made a strategic decision to retire our mainframe system that we were running that PeopleSoft on. So with that, we spent all of 2015 evaluating what's next, what are our other options, made our decision in early 2016 to go with Oracle Cloud. We kicked off our project in April of 2016. We went live with our first wave on the cloud in July of this year and are expected to go live with our second wave in January of 2019. So I mentioned the two waves. The first wave included our U.S. Yum corporate employees, so they're all based in the U.S., approximately 900 active salaried and hourly employees that we pay bi-weekly. And our wave 2 will include our U.S. brands, KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and we have approximately 45,000 salaried and hourly employees that we pay bi-weekly within our brands. The modules that we implemented with Oracle Cloud: core HR, payroll, compensation, benefits, time and labor, expenses, and general ledger. So now I think Aaron's going to share some. Oh, we got a poll question. Never mind.
Yep. No, and everyone, here's our first poll question. Like I mentioned earlier, we would appreciate it if you could answer these. We'll leave it open for about 30 seconds. And if you guys could get your answers in, it'll give us a better idea as to the audience on the call. And then we'll go ahead and share those results with you and move on to the rest of the presentation. So first question, sorry about that. How familiar are you with Oracle Business Intelligence and cloud reporting? You see the options there: expert, intermediate, beginner, and first time ever hearing about it. All right, thank you for everybody for getting those answered. It looks like the answers are rolling in, and it looks like we have a lot of beginners on the line with us today. So I think it'll be a great conversation with the Yum team, Aaron and Karen, for you guys to learn more about BI reporting. And again, just a reminder, as questions come up, please feel free to submit those through the portal, and we'll get them answered at the end of the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Thanks, Jeff. So we're going to talk about what is Oracle Business Intelligence. For those of you that don't know, Oracle Business Intelligence applications are complete pre-built BI solutions that deliver intuitive role-based intelligence throughout an organization. You may have seen OBIA and other products such as EBS and PeopleSoft, but today we're going to talk about how these reporting applications are used specifically within the cloud. Be warned, there are a lot of acronyms when talking about reporting applications, and we're not going to cover them all today to not completely confuse you. However, we are going to cover Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence, OTBI, rather extensively, as it's probably the most important reporting tool in cloud. I'll then discuss Business Intelligence Publisher, or BIP, and its importance to cloud reporting. We aren't going to cover in-depth HCM extracts, but it's worth mentioning as they are an important tool used to extract data in the cloud. Many of the delivered reports that you will run for payroll are built off of HCM extracts, the most important one probably being the payroll archive. They are very complex, sometimes uneditable, and generally require you to use Business Intelligence Publisher for reporting outputs. Lastly, infolets are a form of OTBI reports that we can embed within the UI of a user's homepage or within a dashboard of a work area. Okay, let's start with OTBI. OTBI provides a flexible and easy to use analysis tool that helps gain real-time insight into transactional data. Data within OTBI reports update within a refresh of your browser. There's no scheduled or overnight process you need to run in order to see new transactions appear within your report. The tool provides robust ad hoc reporting, role-based dashboards, data visualization, and self-service information delivery. We'll talk about a few of these features in the next few slides. OTBI's core functionality allows users to simply drag and drop selected data from subject areas and use different graphical views. We're going to talk about subject areas a lot in OTBI. Subject areas are what OTBI uses to pre-join tables together, so you don't have to worry about any left outer joins or unions. Subject areas use similar logic to the front-end work areas. Data can be filtered, drill down enabled, and action links can be created. Visually, there are some robust features that we can do with OTBI to make reporting more interactive for users. For example, if you're looking at a report and say you want to click on business unit to see what types of jobs are available within the business unit, you can create a drill down link to expand the report to open up the jobs that are available. You can do the same with graphs to view the specific data within a pie chart, for example. Reports or dashboards can be scheduled for delivery, and reports can be exported to Excel, Word, and other formats. OTBI takes the need for creating report templates out of the equation for us. Templates are built that allow a user to quickly export to Excel or PDF. You can also schedule these reports to send out to users as well. A reporting wizard, BI Composer, is available to guide casual business users through a few simple steps to run, edit, or create OTBI reports and queries. We'll talk about BI Composer in the next slide, but it's important to note all these features of the reporting tool are achieved by a presentation layer that is built on top of your base tables. This allows us to pull reports without joining tables and also not have to build in specific security requirements, as it shares the same data security as the front end. Typical end users of OTBI reporting are our functional analysts. The level is intermediate to advanced, but the ad hoc and real-time capabilities make this the ideal tool for functional users. So BI Composer. BI Composer is the first example of OTBI reporting. This tool is used to guide beginner-level end users through a report using train stops at the top. BI Composer is accessed through the Fusion UI. The other tools you'll see, we need to navigate to the Business Intelligence UI in order to create a report. In the screenshot, you'll see our subject area, and within the subject area, our folder structure. No joining required. We have the information here about key aspects about our workers. Simply expand the folders, choose your field, and use the arrow keys to select it. Then follow the train stops along to select your view, graph or table, edit it, maybe add a sort, and perhaps a filter to remove unwanted data. Then there is a stop near the end for a highlight. Here you can add formatting to your report. Perhaps visually you want to point out outliers in maybe a red or yellow color. Then save and run your analysis. Here's an OTBI analysis through the Business Intelligence UI. Here we are building the same kind of report with different functionality. We find most users prefer using this. Again, we have our subject area and folder structure on the left. Here we can drag and drop our fields into selected columns above. We can add filters, change field properties, and formulas such as counts and max. Using the tabs at the very bottom of the screenshot, we can see, at the very top of the screenshot, we can see our results, change our views to add graphs, prompts, and in the Advanced tab, even pull the report SQL or XML that you created within the analysis. OTBI dashboards. An OTBI dashboard can be a very helpful tool to bring in multiple analysis together within one exportable report. We can add common prompts that can filter multiple reports. We can add display graphs and tables together. These can be helpful in situations where maybe not all the data we're looking for is within one subject area. So maybe we could bring it all together in a dashboard. All right, let's talk about BI Publisher. So this BI Publisher can be used as an alternative reporting solution to OTBI. BI Publisher is a two-step process that first involves building your data model. Some of the data sources available are SQL query, XML, HCM extract, and view object. Then the second part is building the report template and delivery options. Examples of BI Publisher reports are checks, payslips, invoices, compensation statements, etc. Not all BI Publisher reports have to be that complex though. You can use the tool for a direct database query for writing your own SQL. Unlike OTBI, there is no presentation layer, so everything we want to create, scheduling for delivery, formatted templates, security, we have to do it ourselves. Typical end users include our more technical IT users such as HRIS folks or IT developers. As I mentioned, BI Publisher is a two-step process. The first screenshot shows a direct SQL query to build our data model. The second screenshot is the first page a user will see when they go to build a report. You can use the Report Wizard tool, which will help you build a template. You can also auto-generate a report automatically using the delivered Oracle RTF template. Or you can upload your own template using a variety of different sources, RTF, Excel, PDF, etc. Once you build your report, you can choose the delivery channels and timing. To recap, let's talk about advantages and disadvantages of OTBI and BIP, and then when you'd want to use each. So our first advantage for OTBI is the drag and drop functionality. No need to know the exact table names or field names. You don't need to know the SQL in order to use the tool. BI Publisher, you need to know SQL. The next advantage for OTBI is the presentation layer. If you think about it in terms of PeopleSoft or JD Edwards, you may have had custom tables built to join a bunch of fields from several different tables so that you can query from it. In cloud, building a custom table like that is not really an option. So Oracle's solution is OTBI in the subject areas. In BI Publisher, rather, there are thousands of tables with less than intuitive table names that require multiple joins. In OTBI, reports can be built and updated relatively quickly. In BI Publisher, one modification to the SQL often takes a very long time to update. Lastly, Oracle is heavily investing in OTBI reporting. Each new release, new subject areas and fields within our current subject areas are being added on. So if this is what Oracle is pushing us to use, then why do we even need to use BI Publisher? Well, one disadvantage of OTBI is that not all the fields we may need to report on are available within the subject area. So you may have to pull it in Business Intelligence Publisher. Sometimes the information we need is just just one subject area, and even though we can join multiple subject areas, it sometimes can be a bit messy and outputs don't join correctly. Subject areas can be misleading and difficult to find fields you wish to use. Whereas with SQL, you can use a select star query to pull back all the fields on a certain table. In OTBI, you sometimes have to dig through subject areas and folders to find what you're looking for. Since OTBI uses a presentation layer, there is sometimes a lack of visibility on how data is actually retrieved from the database. However, as more and more clients move to cloud and Fusion applications, more and more reporting resources are being made available to users. And lastly, as an advantage and disadvantage for both, That would be security. OTBI limits front-end security job and data roles, whereas BI Publisher queries directly to the database and is able to bypass any front-end security. Okay, so now we're going to talk through a few real-life scenarios and cases we would use OTBI or BI Publisher. Our first scenario, I just converted workers from PeopleSoft and need to validate that employees loaded in the cloud. A direct database query to a single cloud table using BI is what you'd want to use. Karen is going to talk through reporting best practices and how a reporting strategy should always start with report writing to validate your own conversion data. This is a great way to learn the base table structure and also refamiliarize yourself with your data in the cloud. Next, I have a report request to audit a yes/no flag on assignment. Use to bridge a gap in configuration. Your answer, first determine if the field is available in OTBI. The cool thing about OTBI is that even descriptive flex fields and our other custom fields that we configure on the front end can be made available in OTBI reporting. However, if it's not available, then you will need to pull it from BI Publisher. Our next scenario, I need a headcount report by business unit and grade. Your answer, this is a great candidate for OTBI. You can make the report drillable to get down to employee detail and even place it as an infolet using graphs on an employee or a manager's homepage. I need a data dump of all workers, service dates, compensation history, and benefit information. This one is a little tricky. There's no clear-cut solution. Even though OTBI attempts to pre-join tables, sometimes it's just not possible to have all the data you need contained in one subject area. For example, worker data is commonly available across most HR subject areas, but compensation history is in compensation subject areas only, and benefit information is in benefit subject areas. It is possible to join these subject areas, but sometimes this can get a bit messy. A report like this may require BI Publisher. The last scenario, I have a highly formatted payslip that needs to be customized. This will require BI Publisher and HCM extracts.
Thanks, Aaron. Before we get into our poll question number 2, I just want to apologize if you guys are hearing any sort of echoing. We're looking into that, so apologize for the inconvenience. But before I hand it over to Karen to walk through best practices on her end, I'd like to go through poll question number 2. What is the level of report customization in your current environment? A, all reports are custom created by a team of developers. B, we use a mix between delivered reports and custom reports. C, we use only delivered reports and templates. And D, unsure. Users create and manage their own reports. So again, we'll leave it open for a few seconds if you guys could go ahead and send in your answers. And I will hand it over to Karen after we go over the results. All right, it looks like the results are coming in. And again, fairly resounding answer here. Looks like 75% of the folks that are on the line selected B, using a mix between delivered reports and custom reports. And then second, all reports are custom created by a team of developers. So again, just a reminder, feel free to go ahead and get any questions submitted through the portal, whether it's related to poll question 1, 2, or anything that Aaron has previously covered. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Karen to discuss reporting best practices.
Thanks, Jeff. So for the next few minutes, I'll be going over best practices. And the first thing I want to talk about is sometimes the hardest phase of a reporting implementation is actually gathering those requirements. Before a configuration is complete, can you really know what your reporting needs are? there may be functionality in the cloud that wasn't available in PeopleSoft. The opposite may hold true as well. There may have been functionality in PeopleSoft that is not available in the cloud. Because of this, new reports never used in PeopleSoft may be needed, and old reports used in PeopleSoft may not be needed anymore. Another challenge is identifying reporting needs before users know and understand the system. We've relied pretty heavily on our subject matter experts from various user groups to help with understanding report requirements. At the beginning of the project, though, these subject matter experts may have very little understanding of the cloud, how their data is changing, new processes they may have, and what needs they'll really have. Sounds a little daunting, right? There are some solid solutions that can help in this task. One step is to have report resources start with creating data validation reports. Aaron touched on this earlier. Another best practice is to leverage the delivered reports that cloud offers. And lastly, time can be used developing a reporting strategy. I'll talk about each of these best practices a little more in depth. So starting with data validation. This is something that can be done right away, so don't wait until after prototype 1. It can be done in the design phase. It's a great place to start for report development, and we highly recommend starting it really as soon as possible. The reason data validation reports are such a suitable starting place for report development is multifaceted. First, this is a great way for reporting resources to familiarize themselves with cloud reporting tools and database tables, as well as how the data is being converted from PeopleSoft to the cloud. If report resources are accustomed to using PeopleSoft tables, cloud tables are going to be quite different. If report resources are used to using EBS, the table structure will likely feel a little bit more familiar. Additionally, conversion of the data is a massive piece of the project, and data validation reports can assist with getting data from PeopleSoft to cloud as cleanly as possible. Two types of validation reports that we ended up using quite a bit were data dumps and counts. So with data dumps, you can use that select star that Aaron mentioned and choose a table and get everything from that table out to make sure that everything that you thought was being populated into that table was being populated. With counts, you can, in this example here, we have a count of a person number with a balance name. So you can get certain questions like, did what you load match what you expected to load? Do all of these counts match our legacy system, or PeopleSoft in this case? Okay, our next slide is talking about using delivered reports and front-end functionality whenever possible. So with that poll question, it looks like a lot of people use custom reports and delivered reports. So if it's possible, we definitely recommend going down the route of using the delivered reports. When it's not possible, of course, a custom report can be made. The reason we recommend this approach of using delivered or seeded reports whenever possible is because custom reports can be quite time-consuming to build and maintain. There are some reports in OTBI that can be made in a matter of minutes, but this is often not the case, and some reports that are a good deal more complex could take days and even weeks to build. Additionally, report maintenance can be another time consumer. With patches and upgrades, there is a chance that custom reports will not work or will need to be tweaked. Cloud offers some great delivered reports. Also, there are many screens on the front end that can either be utilized by the user to get the information they need or be exported. Oracle has documentation for their list of seeded reports, and it can be worthwhile to spend some time looking at the catalog and understanding what is offered right out of the box. One additional thing to keep in mind is that if an issue is identified with an Oracle delivered report compared to a custom report, Oracle will be putting more resources into fixing the universally used report. A great best practice is to utilize reports from Cloud Customer Connect. There are a ton of reports on the site that other users have created, and sometimes they can totally meet your requirement. And if not, they're at least a good starting place to to start your own custom report. Developing a report team strategy can assist with making the journey to the cloud a smoother one. One practice we would recommend considering is limiting report requests from user groups to the top 5. This will help user groups and the report team prioritize the most vital requirements. We talked about how user groups may not fully understand the system and their needs in the beginning of an implementation project. So trying to recreate all reports that were vital in PeopleSoft is not necessarily the best use of resources. Of course, after these top 5 reports are built per user group and tested by users, additional reports could be built. But this is a great way to help users and report team prioritize with the large amount of report requests that are likely to come in. Another recommendation is to have the report team work closely with functional leads and the conversion team to understand the data that is being converted and how it is changing from PeopleSoft to the cloud. And with the conversion team, it gives the report team some insight into where the data is being originally placed into the cloud table. We touched on this earlier, but a great place for the reporting team to start in the beginning of the project is by creating conversion validation reports with the conversion team. Some additional best practices for the report team are to consider the timing of reports. We had a go live list for reports that were needed on day 1, but there are also reports that are not needed until month end or year end. The go live reports will typically take precedence over a report that isn't needed until year end. Also, consider project timing for report development. It is best to start building reports in the very first prototype and steadily develop your report repository. Another critical piece is to track report requests and report statuses. Having master lists of all the report requirements and the various statuses for the reports is critical in staying organized, focused, and aware of what needs to be done. Some statuses we suggest for this list are dev ready, dev in progress, dev complete, unit tested, user approved. You can create a pivot table on your report requests and statuses throughout the project to really get a clear picture of where you are in report development. A final recommendation is to get subject matter expert feedback early and often, even if the reports aren't completely developed. This can be critical in designing reports that really meet the needs of the users. There may be times where the report developed doesn't actually meet user needs, maybe based on the data changing or requirements that aren't completely clear. By meeting with user groups with a sample output and not necessarily the final version, you can get valuable insight into how the reports can be modified or restructured. So here are a few additional questions you can ask to prioritize your reporting needs. What type of report is this? Is it for data validation? If so, it might be needed early on in the project. Is it something an end user can create? Is it a highly customized report that is going to take several iterations and extensive testing? These types of questions will help you further prioritize resource and time allocation. Aaron did a great job explaining OTBI pros and BI Publisher pros and cons. But as the best practice, we always recommend starting with OTBI for custom reports. Using this tool, it's possible to create a report in a matter of minutes. Again, this doesn't always happen, but there are times when you find a subject area that has all of the information you need and drop and drag all the fields. If there isn't really much logic behind it, it really can be that quick. Another reason to start here is that Oracle recommends OTBI for writing reports and is continuously adding more fields and subject areas. One thing to keep in mind is that if you see a field on the front end that isn't available in one of the OTBI subject areas, Oracle may add it in the future. We recommend opening an enhancement request with the field name and why it would be beneficial so Oracle can continue to make this tool more and more robust. Even though OTBI is often the easier and desired approach to many custom reports, not all reports can be made there. So getting familiar with and using BI Publisher is still recommended. Again, a few reasons for this are not all fields are currently available in OTBI. And because OTBI is built as the presentation layer on the backend table, there's not as much transparency as to how the data is retrieved and how certain amounts are being aggregated. Also, if data is needed from multiple subject areas, joining those subject areas can sometimes bring back misleading results. One valuable piece of documentation that can be developed early on and continuously built upon is the mapping of PeopleSoft names and cloud names. Many of the users may have been using PeopleSoft for 10 or more years and will be very used to the PeopleSoft field names. There's definitely a learning curve in getting used to cloud field names, and having a document that shows common PeopleSoft fields with their cloud counterparts can be super helpful. So, for example, the payroll team may be used to a field name process date in PeopleSoft, but in cloud, the field name is now payroll actions effective date. Other changes like person ID in PeopleSoft compared to person number in the cloud aren't that difficult necessarily to get used to, but we definitely found date fields to be one of the biggest challenges. In this slide, we laid out a checklist that can be used when gathering report requirements. Crystal clear requirements make report development and user acceptance much smoother. So the first thing that you can ask is why the report is needed. You might find out that the why isn't really clear. Maybe it was used based on a process that will no longer be in place in the cloud. Depending on the answer, consider asking a follow-up why. Really digging deep can be vital in getting rid of those requests that may not be crucial in the cloud. Earlier, we talked about limiting custom reports based on time it takes to build and maintain. And getting these solid whys for the report can prevent unneeded reports from being added to the list or keeping the overall goal of the report at the forefront during development. Once the report is deemed required, identify what fields are needed in the report. Identify what filters and logic are needed. Identify when the report will be run. Will it be daily, weekly, bi-weekly? It can be helpful to obtain front-end screenshots of where data can be viewed as well as the test case. This way you can unit test your report with the front-end screen. One thing to keep in mind is that the legacy query alone can help, but alone it is often not enough to write the cloud report. So it can definitely help with getting field names and potentially understanding the gist of the report, but a little more is often needed. I think I'm turning it over to Jeff for another poll question.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Poll question number 3, where is your organization on your journey to the cloud? A, already live on Oracle Cloud. B, mid-implementation of Oracle Cloud. C, purchase cloud but have not begun implementing. D, considering a move to Oracle Cloud. And E, no current plans for Oracle Cloud. We'll give you guys a few seconds again, and then we'll share those results, and we will then hand it over to Mike and Sue. So it looks like the results are in, and these ones are a little bit more mixed than the previous 2 poll questions. Looks like the audience is kind of split between mid-implementation of cloud, considering a move to cloud, and then also no current plans to move to Oracle Cloud. So we do have one more poll question that will be coming up, but as of now, I'd like to hand it over to Sue and Mike to help share their experiences from a similar standpoint to those of you that are joining us on the call. So, Sue?
Thanks, Jeff. So Yum's journey to determine our reporting requirements, we initially started with what are the reports we're using today in PeopleSoft, the queries and reports that we run there. We later realized that cloud was different and that those reports would not necessarily work for us like we needed them to. So Mike's going to talk a little about some of that, but we focused on our critical go live reports first, and as we said, there's approximately 300 of them, and that little visual on this slide shows you how we tracked the development of our reports throughout the project. We focused on utilizing delivered where possible so that we didn't have to have too many custom. But some of the types of reports that we developed, kind of high-level buckets, we have balancing reports for our pay runs, our taxes, our general ledger. We have error reports for our pay runs and integrations. Each of our integrations, we have some, type of error report. We have exception reports that, identify any potential benefit compensation or other issues that, we might be looking for. And then we have lots of reports for auditing and researching any of the financial reporting issues that come up after we've posted our pay runs. So Mike's going to talk a little bit more in depth about our lessons learned in this journey.
Hey, so broke my part up into 3 areas: accomplishments, pain points, and kind of what the actual lessons learned were. So just quickly go through the accomplishments. As Sue mentioned, we delivered quite a few day one vital reports. Don't know honestly that those were all vital, but that goes back to what Aaron and Karen were saying about really align with the subject matter experts and the teams on what's different and what needs to be built to get through go live and then go from there. I think we did a pretty good job of managing the change expectations, that the tools were different, the fields were different, things of that nature. But, human nature, you don't really know until you use it and see it. One thing that I think we learned a lot from was utilizing dashboard reports. It's a little different output than what some of our users were used to, but it did capture all of the data fields. And instead of having 4 or 5 different reports, we were able to put all of those 4 or 5 reports into one output, which is very handy and surprisingly nice to print and export and manipulate. Another thing we made a focus on early and often was to condense the number of reports. Certain people want certain types of data, and previously there were reports written for every general piece of data. So did a great job of condensing those reports and utilizing prompts and also dashboards again. So another, on that same note, or that same copying and utilizing reports in different places, we created a folder structure within the reporting environment for each one of our modules that we implemented, just to keep it, give it a cleaner look and allow users, as they're new to the system, to know where to go and an easy navigation path. So you can have the same report copied in as many folders as you would like, and it performs the same way. So people wouldn't need necessarily a report specific to their own needs. They could share reports, and we could just copy them instead of writing new ones at all times. Again, several business gaps could be bridged basically using reports, which is always good, and that's where knowing the reporting tool adds a lot of value. We've got some scheduled reports out there that go out daily to people, where they just receive it in their email, and they save it, they review it, they take action on it, whatever's needed that day. And there's no manual input on that. You just set up the schedule and it goes. And one of the big ones I think Aaron's going to talk about in a little more detail is we replaced a third-party mailing process with a notification report that was custom built. And so in the long term, that's a money-saving situation that the cloud brought to us. And then next, we'll talk a little bit about the pain points. Again, seems like we've harped on terminology differences, but it is a real issue. It needs to be addressed as soon as possible to assign someone that job of doing the cross-reference, and to have that handy at most all times throughout the implementation process. Hard to understand because some of our reporting was so customized. take the time to investigate the delivered reporting in cloud, because they do have a lot of delivered reports. They may not be perfect to your needs, but they'll probably give you more than what you need. You might have to eliminate some columns or something, but it is important to understand what that can bring. So here I think was one of the biggest ones when we talked about it a little bit earlier. Don't write reports in the cloud. Don't try to recreate your legacy system, because it's different, and you're just going to run in circles doing that and frustrate everyone involved. Explaining the formatting differences, we go back to the terminology differences, a lot of differences. And something that we had to learn the hard way, this is not WinSQL. This is a whole new tool. And then really drill down and see what's vital. And, you know, ask the question, okay, if this report is vital, how often do you produce an action from it? So the data in this report, what type of actions are you taking daily on that output? And, you know, if those questions can be answered, then it probably is vital. And as Aaron talked a little bit earlier about BI Answers versus BI Composer, it's a look and feel difference, but it's good to understand up front what your users will prefer and which one gives you what you need as far as creating the reports and ongoing use of the reports. So this is a little bit of repeat, but just to summarize our accomplishments, pain points, and kind of watch outs. Some success routines that we recommend and we will do going forward: ensure the users understand the system a little bit prior to asking for reports. So when in our process, when we ask for reports, we ask for them very early. So everyone's mind went to, this is what I do now, this is the report that I need. And then that goes back to the previous slide where build reports in the cloud, not in the legacy system. So get your users understanding the system a little bit and how it works and what it does and what some of the barriers are, and then ask for report requirements from there. Reinforce terminology changes early. It just really and truly, it allows more familiarity and honestly acceptance when you're getting those requests for reports and people overall are accepting things more. Again, create cloud reports, a little bit repetitive, but that's really something we should hammer down. The cross-reference, that's huge as well. One of the things that I think we all could have done a better job is to challenge the statements that begin with today we. So, you know, that's going to lead to today we do it this way. So you challenge those as much as you can without being forceful. And then user security and reporting, as Aaron and Karen talked about, those are very intertwined. So it's best to know what security roles are out there and how they are going to produce data. And you can actually use the subject areas in OTBI to your advantage when you know which ones to pull from and which ones not. And then training, as always, you're going to need a ongoing support system when after you go live.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to talk about a few of the Elire lessons learned. Yes, even though consultants think we know it all, we still learn some tricks. So drag and drop can make functionality, or drag and drop can make it seem like an easy tool, but OTBI has many advanced features. For example, formulas on fields allow users to apply SQL logic such as case switch and aggregation. Not all subject areas are built the same. We came across issues with duplicated amounts on primary assignments within subject areas. We also had issues with base dimension fields and missing balance dimensions with payroll balances. We had to open up a bunch of service requests to find out exactly how amounts are being calculated in different ways. And it's not necessarily how you would expect in OTBI. So just be warned when you're looking at OTBI, amounts and calculated columns can be very tricky sometimes, just to make sure you have the right values there. Again, raise any issues with Oracle as enhancement requests or service requests, as they'll continue to work on making the subject areas better and better. Each release, I think in R12 we had something like I think like 10 to 12 new subject areas across ERP, and that's happening on every upgrade. BI Catalog Cleanliness. A lot of reporting is trial and error. Organizing the reports you have are testing and separating out delivered reports is helpful. With several users in the system, your custom folder catalog can quickly get unorganized. Communicate to your implementation team your strategy. I think we did a great job of this. Also involve your end users with naming conventions, and don't be afraid to use the report description and indicate what the report does, how to use it, or give prompt instructions. As Mike mentioned, this is kind of what we did with our implementation, and I think the final product in prod really looks great in terms of how our catalog folder is structured and organized. Support after production. Report support after production is encouraged. After Yum's go live, report tweaks and new requests come in at a steady rate. Even though reporting is critical, it sometimes falls down the list of critical activities when it comes to testing. Expect new requests to come in as users become more and more familiar with the new system processes. At almost 2 months since go live, new requests and tweaks come in even at a rate of like 5 to 10 a week. Your system is a living and breathing machine, so downstream changes to reports are inevitable. So now we're going to go through a few examples of some of the reports that we created, and I think Karen, you're going to take over as the next 2 OTBI examples.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So this is one of those ones I mentioned a few times that you can create an OTBI report in a matter of minutes, and we made a report that just identifies employees who have a supervisor change, and we used a date prompt for it. So this came from one subject area, the workforce management worker assignment event real time, and it just showed anyone with a manager change within a certain time frame. Oracle OTBI has some really cool prompts that you can use that are really easy to add to the report. We filtered the action reason in this one on supervisor change. The date for this one is actually referring to the action date, and that's another thing to keep in mind when using the different subject areas. Each of them will have a time folder, and depending on that subject area, it refers to something different. So it can take some time getting to know what date refers to what in different subject areas. In this case, it occurred to when the action actually took place. The next report that we're going to see in a moment was one that was requested by the payroll team, and the reason I wanted to show it is because we turned it into a dashboard, and in this report example, we have a lot of filters. You can see those filters on the bottom, but one of those filters is saying person number is equal to any person number and it's another analysis. So in OTBI, you can actually filter your results based on a whole another analysis. So it's a way to layer on complexity into the drop and drag functionality. And then we put both of those reports into a dashboard. Like Mike mentioned, we were able to get all of the different things from various subject areas into one dashboard with one output. So it could be exported rather than having the payroll team go to multiple dashboards to get the information they were requesting. Now, turn it over to Aaron to go over some BI Publisher examples.
Thanks, Karen. So here's an example of a BI Publisher report, the custom payslip we built for Yum Brands. For information security, we're just showing the screenshots of the RTF template, but this can give you a good idea of how vastly different they are. The bottom left is the delivered out-of-the-box template. There's some fields on the payslip that we added and some that we removed. The payslip pulls from the payroll archive HCM extract. We're not able to modify that extract, but we can add configuration by using payroll information elements to bring additional fields if they are currently not available within the extract. Element reporting names are important when you do the configuration because that is what's going to display on the payslip. So the next one, our last example, is the benefit notification burst. This was a gap resolution and also a process improvement for Yum, as Mike said. Prior to Cloud, they had an integration from PeopleSoft to a third-party vendor that would send a postcard for benefit enrollments via the mail. The desired behavior was that Cloud would support an automatic email notification for benefit enrollment through front-end configuration. This was actually deemed a gap, but it could be supported through BI bursting. Karen, Mike, and myself worked across many user groups, including the benefits team, to nail down the logic for the system behavior for when the user should be notified. We also worked across the communications team at Yum to design the RTF template that an employee receives in their email as an HTML format. From the screenshots, in the bottom left is our bursting SQL. The bottom right is our audit report, and the top right is the template itself that end users receive in their inbox. The last is just some key resources, some links that we posted out. Tables and view docs are important for BI Publisher. The Cloud Customer Connect, as Karen said, a great tool to get you started and share reports with other customers. Logical and relational data model diagrams, very important for BI Publisher. And then the Fusion Apps Developer Relations channel on YouTube. If you might have used this before, but this is great for OTBI to kind of walk you through step by step in a video training format to learn the tool.
All right, everyone. I know we're running up against the clock here. We'll wrap things up here in a couple minutes, but we do have one final poll question. This one is a little different than the previous one, so feel free to select all that apply. What challenges do you anticipate or have you experienced with your transition to Oracle Cloud? A, budget restraints. B, lack of experienced or available internal resources. C, poor end user buy-in, unsure of change. D, inadequate planning and preparation. And finally, minimal understanding of cloud solutions. So again, feel free to select all that apply, and we will share the results with you here soon. All right, it looks like the results are coming in and quite evenly spread across the board. I know this relates to one of the questions that we had come through in terms of major challenges or setbacks that Yum had. Unfortunately, running out of time here with questions, but those that did submit questions, we'll go ahead and follow up with those folks. But one question that did come in that I want to revisit, somebody asked if the presentation will be available. Again, we will send out the recording as well as the presentation, and that will immediately follow the webinar today. So as we wrap things up, one final thank you to our friends Sue and Mike at Yum Brands for joining us. Thank you to those of us who took time to join us here for the webinar. For more information on our cloud services, feel free to reach out to myself, Aaron, and or Karen, and we'd be happy to spend some more time with you guys and get any other questions answered. For additional content and to be first to hear about upcoming webinars and other events, feel free to find and follow us on our variety of social media channels. So we hope today you guys had some fun reporting takeaways to help you and your teams. Again, we'd like to thank you and everybody for joining us on the call today, and we look forward to connecting with you all soon. Thank you and have a great afternoon.